What up, players? Rick here for Game Trade Media. We're here at Alliance Open House. We've got Gil from Formal Ferret Games here today to tell us a little bit about a expansion to a familiar game coming out.
Yes.
So Gil, please.
Yep, this is the Networks Executives. This is the new expansion for the Networks. It adds a bunch of new things to the game, but the biggest thing it adds are these executives. So we got a bunch of these executives over here. These add various player powers to your game. So if you have the base game, you might recognize where these come in. So for example, that over there is Mr. Cable. If you have Mr. Cable, you're going to start the game with a lot more money than you normally would.
Okay.
The problem is, not the problem, but the issue is every executive also has a downside.
Of course.
So if we go back to Mr. Cable over here, now if you're familiar with the base game, every player is going to perform an action towards the end of the season called drop in budget, where they get money or viewers.
Okay.
Well, Cable cannot get money. They can only get viewers. And the later you wait to go out of the season, the less money or viewers you get. And the last slot has only $2 million and no viewers. So if you're last out, you get nothing with Cable. So you have to manage your when you come out.
Okay.
The other nice thing about this one is when you do the drop in budget action, you actually get one action after that, which is unusual. It's different than the other executives.
Okay.
So you have to get in the other players' heads, figure out when they're going to drop out, and do it around before everybody does. So you get all the viewers that you can, and you get a bunch of money at the start of the game, and hopefully you come out ahead.
Nice.
So that's an example of what executives brings to the table. It's going to change the way you play each time. So at the start of the game, if you want to be red, you're actually going to put this over here, and now if you're familiar with the base game, this is the player board in front of you. Everybody has their vertical player board, and then they're going to when you develop shows, I'm going to put this flat here for 1 second. Then when you get shows, you're going to put them at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and 10 p.m., as always, to the side of your player board, 8, 9, and 10. So I mentioned those 8, 9, and 10 time slots, which are familiar to everyone, but maybe you don't want to be Cable. Maybe you want to be Flicks instead. So if you're Flicks, you're actually going to start the game, and you're not going to have any defined time slots. So instead of having 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and 10 p.m., it's going to say any, and any. And we actually even have a little token over here that comes with the game that you can pop on that will tell you that it's any. Here we go. All right. So so now you know that all your shows are always considered to be in their proper time slot, which is great. It makes things easy. But you see over here, I've got this action show at what would be the 8 p.m. slot. When I cancel it, I want to replace it with another action show. If I replace it with, say, a sitcom, I lose 2 viewers, and viewers are VP. So that's your challenge with Flicks is instead of paying attention to the 8, 9, and 10, you want to sort of work off the same 3 genres.
Okay.
So as you can see, every executive has their own little powers, but their own little setbacks also. And a lot of the game is working around it. And the game comes with 12 of these executives.
Okay.
So that's the big. That's one of the big changes. Another of the big changes is when you start the game, you're actually going to get 4 cards. Like you're going to start the game, and your network's going to look like this. In that it's going to start with. It's going to start with no shows, no stars, no ads, no nothing. So you're going to start the game with some cards. And the cards are going to tell you what you start with. So you may start with these 4 cards. And yes, these are all 4 terrible shows, like America's favorite actuarial tables.
Nice.
But whichever show you draft from these 4 cards, this one's going to tell you that you're going to start with some stars. You get to draw 2 stars and keep 1. This one, Kazoo Recital of the Week, you're going to draw 2 ads and keep 1, and so on and so forth. And what that does is that ensures when everybody starts the game, they start the game with their own thing.
Right.
So already there's even more asymmetry at the start of the game. So everybody gets 4 of these cards. You choose one. That becomes your 8 p.m. show. You get whatever the show gives you, and you pass the other 3 cards to the left.
Nice.
You continue a draft like that.
Nice.
Now, some of these shows some of them are terrible, but some of these shows are not so terrible. they will give you viewers and they will have a genre, and they'll probably be a little familiar, like Golden Grills or That's an Edible or Air Wombat, any of these shows. So these will act just like regular shows, but they don't give you stars or ads or stuff like that. So the question is, do you get resources during setup, during the pilot season, or do you go ahead and get some shows but start with fewer resources than everybody else?
Okay.
So that is one of the big questions that the game asks.
All right.
And then the game comes with a totally new deck of shows. So you swap out the old deck of shows with the new deck of shows. That's not because there's anything wrong with the deck of shows that comes in the base game. It's just because this is the game is so genre focused,
Right.
that it's tough to shuffle new cards in without upsetting the number of genres. So it's easy.
Okay.
The easiest way to handle expansions for this game is to put in a new deck of shows. So this new deck of shows is balanced a little differently in terms of genres, and it's got a bunch of new shows that are weird and fun and
That's
interesting.
amazing.
Thank you.
And as mentioned earlier, before we went on camera, the shows have trying to figure out what they're making reference to is always kind of fun. So look at these two here. We have normal stuff. Bunch of kids around a table playing some sort of a fantasy game.
Yeah.
And then Law and Odor, dumpster diving cops. They're the best.
Yep.
Figuring out the crimes that nobody else wants.
Yep. So that is, and then you put all the stars. You play with the stars and ads from the base game, so
Right.
you'll still have your familiar stars. Like my favorite star is the one who always dies in everything.
Right.
And there's fun things you can do because the one who always dies in everything, you decide whether they die in season 1 or season 3, and after that you don't get any viewers for them.
Oh,
So,
that's hilarious.
So there's a lot of fun stuff in that base game. So yeah, the base game has sold very well. It still continues to do really well. I'm very, very grateful for that. And this expansion just adds to it.
Okay, so the base game, as you all out there know, it is available now if you do not currently have it. The expansion is going to be available when?
It'll be available on October 17th.
Nice, so not
Yes.
too far off.
Not far off at all.
Great,
Coming it up.
great for the holidays coming up. Bring the family together. If you've already been playing the core game, this will just add some more flavor to it and expand it and bring something fresh to the table at Thanksgiving or Halloween or whatever. That's super cool. And what is the price point on this going to be?
This is going to be $30.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And you said it comes with 12 new.
12 new executives.
Perfect. That's amazing. Gil, thank you so much for bringing
Great.
this out and showing
Thanks
it
so
off.
much. Thank you.
And for all of you out there, if you want to find out more about Formal Ferret, you can go to formalferretgames.com.
Yes. Or you can find me on Twitter at Gilhova, and that's where I talk and babble all about games.
I love it. Very cool. I'm Rick, by the way.
And I'm Gil.
We'll see you at the game store.
Thanks for watching Game Trade Media. Make sure to leave us a like and click that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new content.